Hey, there we go. Most of the gang's all here now.
Hi.
Good
Sorry, I'm
afternoon.
running a little late. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
So we've got a fairly full agenda. Would you like me to dive in?
Sure, I'll start the recording and the recording started. Great. So yes, dive right in.
Okay, let me share my screen. Get rid of this thing. Yeah, I know I'm sharing. Okay, a couple of things. Gotta spend a little time on some of our public relations and media topics. I think we've got a few things to cover there. We're less than 50 days away from the Xenia Hamvention, so it's worth bringing that up and making some plans there. And then you might have missed it, Nathaniel. Rob Robinette's going to be a little bit late today, so I had the tech topics as the third item on the list anyhow. So Rob will be able to join us later. But I see Steve here too, so we can get into some of that stuff. So
Great.
is there anything else that somebody wants to add? I'll stick it on the others box. Otherwise, we'll get started.
We should. I know you sent me a thing back about the NASA page. Maybe we can review that. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. We can also tell people about the CEDAR conference. And then just a note, I had a chat with John Gibbons at the end of the Grape Telecon this morning. And after talking with him, I think we have a reasonable path forward for getting the data rate down to about a gig a day or less. So I think his estimate of 10 gigs a day was high. And so I think I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to get it down to at least an order of magnitude smaller than he suggested.
Okay, yeah, that is good news.
Yeah, so I don't want to, let's not go run to the bank on that yet, but let's, but I think it's moving in that direction.
Okay, good. All right, so I'd like to start with the Hamvention, just because it's one of those things that won't move, kind of like the Eclipse. So that's about 2 months away. And I know we talked a little bit about topics for forum speakers and that sort of thing. I know I need to do some work on the website to gather up everybody's participation, I suppose. What, Nathaniel, is there anything, I mean, should we discuss those topics, do you think, or?
Yeah, why don't we take a look at that website?
Okay, I'm going there right now.
Did we finish up sending in a list of the speakers for the forum too? Or did that just kind of get?
I don't think so, because you had dropped off the call when the team here put together some stuff for review. And I think it's on one of your Google Drives somewhere, if I remember.
Okay.
These are the titles we came up with for the forum. Let me get this out of the way. Go away. So I know you've got the Contest University talk. I've seen you already sent that in. It's easy. You've got one for the antenna forum as well, right?
Yes. I think those times are available.
Okay. I can look at the Hamvention site later and see if they've updated that.
Okay. And I'm also speaking on this innovation forum as well for a CHIP. Meetings, invention. I'm bringing up the email. Okay, so I know that I'm giving a 12-minute talk on Friday, May 19th in a forum that's scheduled from noon until 1:50 p.m. So I can just forward this to you.
Okay.
Gary. It doesn't tell me what time in that 2-hour period I'm talking, but it does say that I will be speaking for 12 minutes. And then the what's that?
I was just saying, in case anyone hasn't seen, that the Hamvention's theme for 2023 is innovation. So that's where that's coming from, probably.
Oh, great. And then it says the antenna forum is in the same room right afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, I'll fix that up after the meeting then.
Great. So then where it says, let's see. So where it says Hamvention Forum, it should probably say for May 20th. That should probably say HamSci Forum.
Okay. Yeah, in 3 places, got it.
So then I guess we need to reach out to these people to confirm that they're going to be there and that they can do this, right?
Okay.
So I'm guessing you're going to be there, right, Gary?
Yes, yes.
So I guess we can confirm that you're going to give talk during the HamSci forum.
Yep.
Great. So then I'll have to talk with Rachel, Scotty, John, Dave, Diego. I know I have Mary Lou down for here, but I'm imagining, I don't know, how do you feel about going to Hamvention, Mary Lou?
Sure.
All right. So we'll have Mary Lou and Diego for Hamvention. You've never been to Hamvention before, have you, Mary Lou?
No.
So
I hear it's wonderful.
It is wonderful. A couple of fun stories. So the way I explain Hamvention to people is imagine a giant 4-H fair, but instead of having pigs and goats and cattle, you have what do you call it? You have radios and electronic parts everywhere. And my other favorite story from Hamvention is, Mary Lou, you remember Tom Pereira?
Yes.
I think I told you this story, but he was into collecting Enigma machines. And so at one of the Hamventions one year, I was going through the outdoor flea market, and it's, all outdoors, and they just have like kind of tents, and maybe there's a tent, and then there's plastic tables. And then you see that they're selling old capacitors for like, £5 for $1 or something. And then there's a bunch of old, junky telephone equipment, 25 cents a telephone or something. And then right after that, there's one little plastic folding table, and Tom's wife, Gretchen, is sitting right behind it in a chair. And on the table was a real Enigma machine, and it had a price tag on it of $325,000.
Whoa.
Something ridiculous like that. So, and yeah, so that was kind of stuff that happens at Hamvention. Okay.
That's more like the current pricing at Dayton and Ando. Everything is trying to match eBay prices. I don't think you can find a box of anything unless it's just pure junk for less than $25.
Yeah. Well, this is from probably about 10 years ago. So.
And it's amazing how many people buy that box of pure stuff.
Yeah.
There may be treasures in there.
Yeah, because out of that box, there's one piece that a homebrew aficionado will find, and it will complete his project.
Well, yeah. I've never been to Dayton. That's one of my goals, is to get there one of these years, but I've been to a bunch of other conventions, and And I've actually had people say, I'll say, why'd you buy it? And they'll say, well, because there might be something in there that I want. More power to you.
Well, the main criteria for all that place up there is a good large umbrella and good waterproof shoes, because it's going to rain and it's going to get muddy. And that Black Dirt, Ohio area up there, you can sink up to your ankles in that mud.
Yeah.
True statement. All right. Do you want to?
And then I guess, yeah, and then we'll also have to. I've got the Flex Radio dinner talk as well.
So
I think that might be Thursday night.
there may be something on the Flex site if I'll look there. So.
Okay.
So do you want to, like on Monday night's call, we can, I know Scotty hasn't been on that often, but I usually catch up with Dave Whitten and some of the people on the Zoom calls in the next week. So.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Okay. We won't worry about emailing them. So anyhow, so right now the site is extremely basic. I mean, I copied some of the verbiage from last year. And I don't know, we need to go into detail right now, but
I think here's the really important thing. The important thing is that people know that we're going to have a booth, and that if people want to come hang out at the booth, they should buy a lab coat. And they should buy the lab coat now so they get it in time. I think that's the most important thing to know at the moment.
Yeah, all the details were on last year's page, so I'm having trouble finding it now. But
I can probably find it pretty quickly. I think that's the most important thing. People who want to come, they should know to order lab coats if they don't already have one.
It looked like one of the styles of lab coats has disappeared. I was checking that the other day.
I ordered, I followed the rule, the suggestion from last year, and my lab coat came exactly as described, and we're good. I think we're good on that one at least. But that's,
I mean, really, you can go to the website, and they have all sorts of different styles of lab coats, and that same embroidery code will work for any of them to get the Hamsci logo on it.
So Nathaniel, hold that for next year, because I'm really hoping that next year I'll be able to go, and I've got my lab coat from being on the cardiac floor of the hospital with all kinds of cool stuff on it that should just blend right in with all of your folks' lab coats. So keep that for next year as well, okay?
That sounds great. Here is the link to last year's page. There.
Yeah.
And I guess if I'm speaking in the innovation forum, we have to find some different time for the group photo.
Okay, so I'll copy this format with the overview, the booth volunteering, obviously the sign-up sheet, the lab coat information. Like I said, I followed this right here, and mine got delivered while I was in Scranton, so that worked out well.
Great.
So.
Yeah, and then you can see I have this volunteer sign-up thing where I had people just put in their names. They could check off what times they wanted to be there. And it's, we don't hold anyone to this really strictly, but it does help to kind of give people an idea of when help is needed.
Okay, I can make this work again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, our talk's okay. All right, well, that's enough for now. It gives me a lot to work on, so we know the direction. So that's what I was after. So
great.
Okay. Anyhow, the other thing that is definitely worth mentioning is Mackenzie has done herself a lot of homework on our behalf, coming up with some ideas for PR. I don't know if I want to go through this whole thing. I know Mackenzie, Ed had suggested maybe the three of us, you and Ed and I, get together and look at this thing in a little more detail and identify more likely things that we'll do and some people and that sort of thing offline, because it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yep.
Maybe Mackenzie can give us a 30-second overview of what she did.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I basically put together this document about different things that I think should happen with HamSci, or I would suggest at least. The first thing is to get presenters within the HamSci group to really just talk about what HamSci is. I won't get too into it because, as you can see, there are different tiers, but the main thing is to really get the name out there with larger YouTube content creators, or at least get on podcasts. And obviously there'd be different tiers for, someone who's an expert, someone who has strong working knowledge, but not necessarily an expert, and someone who can be a backup person for tier 2. The next thing that we talked about is social media engagement. I won't get too into that because I think we already have a basic idea on what we should do for that. The third one is to target clubs with larger memberships. But the thing with clubs is they really like prizes. Maybe like develop a specific, like a plaque for HamSci, the top 5 people who really help us get a sort of certificate or a plaque. But the contest clubs really, really like those. And I think that's a big way to get them in to helping us. Next thing I would talk about is the regional directors. I would send off an email to each of the 15 regions to really see if they could talk to their members about HamSci. Somebody would obviously give them like a rundown, a presentation on what it is, see if they can help us get more data as well. Another thing that I would suggest is the HamSci webpage improvement. Whenever somebody fills out the pre-registration form, I believe that when they do that, they should get an auto-generated response with an informational packet, basically saying what the program is in more detail, the contest rules, and an invitation to further explore the program. Also, when they do that, I believe that we should take their email in a database so we can send them updates as HamSci, grows or has different updates within the actual program.
Taking in and out.
Yeah.
Am I in and out?
You're sounding good to me.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so
you sound great.
Okay, thank you. So as more updates happen with HamSci, I believe that we should send out emails to them and maybe send them updates on the contest as well every 3 months. Well, 3 months before.
The meeting.
Let
me see who's in the meeting.
Here, Mackenzie, go ahead and unmute yourself. I just muted everyone. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Another thing is maybe make a web interface for non-contesters so we don't really confuse them because they might not be super familiar with certain logging softwares. So this way it would be a lot easier for them to just input the data and go on and we could collect that, and that could help you guys further your research. The final thing I would say is maybe get the astronaut, Mr. Lindgren, to really, because he's an amateur radio operator as well, and he's very supportive of science. Obviously, he's an astronaut. I think a public statement by him would be a big help to us, as well as a public statement in support of the actual festival itself. And the rest is just talking about certain awards, things to develop within HamSci, like promotional brochures, posters, t-shirts, pens, etc. I know that was kind of long, I'm sorry, but I hope you kind of understand what the point was. And if you want me to go into detail further on, I can do that. But that was basically just a quick rundown.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah.
It's really, really good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's really excellent.
Yep. Yeah, there's some things that we need to integrate in. For example, some of the media that we've talked about, consumer media, such as like our Scientific American discussion a week or so back. And those types of pieces, I think, will really put together a very nice media plan. So all good.
I think the website improvement is definitely something I'd be interested in seeing happen, because right now, I think if you go there, we have a nice blog, but trying to find your way to the actual solar eclipse QSO party page and all that stuff if you want to know where a grape is, it's great if you already know where it is. But if you're a new person, I feel like trying to get your bearings is really tough.
That's true, because everything we do eventually comes back to point back to the website. So
yeah, but I think this looks great.
so as far as an action,
I can add another astronaut you can add to there is Colonel Douglas Wheelock. He's also a ham, and he came to Scranton last year and was very supportive of what we were doing. And he's also been to Hamvention already and things like that.
okay, so there's a lot to chew on in this document. And as I was saying, Ed was suggesting maybe Mackenzie and Ed and I get together and go through some of these things and put some either names to them or some priorities to them and that sort of thing. And Mackenzie, would you be open to a Zoom call for a half hour, maybe 45 minutes between the three of us sometime next week?
That would be good.
Good.
Can you just let me know the time? Because I'll be in school on Monday until 4. I'll probably get home around 4:30, and then the rest of the week I should be home around 3.
Ed, do you know what your schedule looks like next week?
Actually, I'm pretty good with the exception, I think, of Tuesday night. But Mackenzie, I can work around your schedule just in terms of open times, that type of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Just we're also bringing this up at the ARLPR meeting next Wednesday night. That's a conflict at 9 o'clock, but otherwise, yeah, and obviously, I talked to Interbitson at the league in Scranton, so I mean we're all on the same page regarding how we want to move this forward with the committee.
So let's tentatively think about either Tuesday or Wednesday at 4 p.m. I've got to look at my calendar too.
Yeah,
but,
Tuesday at 4.
I'll give you guys enough.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good time for me. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's tentatively go at Tuesday at 4 p.m. I'll send you both an email and we can go over some more of this in detail. This is wonderful. There's a lot of meat here. This is good. Okay. All right. One of the things I've been thinking about too is as we approach these clubs, some will understand what contesting is and some will understand Whisper and this and that and the other thing. And we can obviously clean up the website, make it a little more user-friendly and stuff. But I wonder if there'd be value to creating, whether we physically print them or it's more of an electronic version we could send out in a PDF, as Mackenzie was suggesting, a kind of a how-to pamphlet for a club. Because if I'm a club, what am I thinking? Not the club officers, but the club program officer responsible for putting programs together. If you heard about HamSci and you brought it to your club, people would say, well, what is it? What do you do? What do you mean? And I think the league does a really nice job with field day saying, okay, if you want to participate in field day, here's the kind of things you can do. Here's the kind of equipment you might need. And here's the resources and stuff you can use with some photographs and that sort of thing. And I'm thinking that might help a little too. But
I think that's great. One of the biggest things is, people wonder, how do I actually get involved? And if we can have a more concrete on-ramp. I think we're getting past the point of, I traditionally be like, oh, just join our listserv and come to our telecons. But I think we're starting to get to be, okay, how do you get to the next level? And I think this is going to be too, how do we differentiate, just how do we differentiate ham-sized science from just, regular ham radio operating? So I think eventually we want to, certainly with the solar eclipse QSO parties, there's a really nice on-ramp that we can point to right now where we say to people, okay, join in these 2 events. I think after that, it's probably going to be, install grapes, install ground magnetometers, and hopefully we can have that hardware become more available and have the backend databases be more robust. But beyond that, I think we're also eventually going to want to have some way to train people on how to actually do their own data analysis, something where they're able to contribute to the science a little bit more that way too.
Nathaniel?
Yeah.
So I think I've already told the group this. As I'm doing presentations, I'm hitting just what you just said, where there's a definite differentiation between those that are saying, I'll just get on the air, you can use my data, but I'm really not interested in the science part of it. And I hear that a lot. And then there's others that I hear that are like, oh, I did this and this as my career as an electrical engineer. And I want to go into more detail. And so I think what you bring up is an important point, that there's really two levels with the ham radio operators. And I'll be in Visalia at the International DX, and when I'm presenting, I've added in some information about this, but again, I'm hearing people that are just saying, boy, I'd love to support it, but I just don't want to go past being on the air operating. So anyway.
Right. So yeah, I think for those people who just want to go on and support it, right now, the easiest way we can tell them to do that is participate in SEQP and start, putting on, run Whisper Daemon, run RBN nodes, run PSK reporter nodes, all that stuff. And then as we get the grape more stabilized, we can, push that out. And same thing with the magnetometer and the other personal space weather station. But I think for the immediate term, the more people that run Whisper and stuff like that, and if they can tell their friends in faraway countries, anyone who has friends in Africa and Pakistan and other places that don't have good Whisper coverage, encourage their friends to get stations on the air there.
Yeah, it's one of the things I enjoy participating in all this, because we've got some kind of relatively short-term focus, but we've also got a much longer term focus. So it's good to hear that directly from you, Nathaniel. Okay, we'll take that under advisement and figure out how to move all that forward. Just a note to you two and Nathaniel, I know as you get caught up, remember Matt wanted us to re-record that podcast, so
we can try to schedule another recording with him. Okay.
Yeah, so not a big deal. The other thing, I had an idea some time ago, let's see, is pass out some handouts, especially at the Hamvention. I was thinking about making essentially business cards.
Yeah.
With the SEQ, the thought that I came up with is obviously the SEQP logo on the front, and then a brief description with the dates, what people can do to operate, and then a QR code that will take them to wherever on our website that we've been discussing.
Yeah, we can probably get those. If you want to email that to Salisa, she can get us a quote for how much printing them here would cost. And then I could probably cover the costs of printing those.
Okay.
So how would that just be then at your office, Nathaniel, or I would love to have something like that to hand out at Visalia. Would I just take this down to UPS and just have some made up and hand them out?
Yeah, you can, anyone's free to print these themselves. I was thinking for what do you call it? For Dayton, and we can get a quote here, and I can try to, if it's reasonable, I can print some out here and have them sent to you using my career grant. Because we have a printing office on campus here.
Okay, I'm just curious because there's the Rocky Mountain Convention coming up, and being on this side away from where yourself and Dave and Ed, there's so much presence in the Midwest and East.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at what I can do, the different things that I'm going to. And I know it's not near as much as what you guys have, but I'm still looking at anything that I can do to put this out or promote it.
Yeah. Well, Gary, why don't you start, if you could send this off to Salisa and see how much it would cost to have Royal Printing, and you can CC me on it so you can tell her that I said so. Find out how much it would cost to have Royal Printing make up business cards like this. And we can, I can see if I can pay for a bunch.
Okay.
Another
That's a good way
possibility.
to start.
Yeah, another possibility. I really like KB3 IFH. Do you know him? He's done a bunch
that's
of
who did my
QSL.
QSL. Yep.
Yeah, so he does eyeball QSL. So maybe get a quote from him too, because he does really nice work. And this would totally fall in like the eyeball QSO card thing. And we could probably get a couple thousand of these for like $150 or something. And I have no problem paying for that. And then we could send them out to to different people.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That we got two possible avenues I can investigate. I just want to start now while we still have plenty of time to get it done. So
yeah, this is really good.
Gary, would you mind letting me know on that? And because if not, I'll just print some off myself here. So if you would let me know.
Yeah, I should be able to report back to the group next week. I know. So I'll let everybody know.
If you need them immediately, Gary can send you that PDF and you can do whatever you want too.
Print right up. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary, just send it to me. I doubt it'd cost me more than, I'd only make up about maybe 50 to 100, and I'll bet I can get it done for about 10 or 15 bucks. I'm glad to help out with that. So if you want to just send that to me, and that's so much easier than somebody trying to mail it to me and all of that. So
okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know if this format would exactly work, but at least it'll get the idea started. So
yeah.
The other thing I just want to make sure, Nathaniel, you think I kind of like the idea of getting NASA's name out in front of everything. Do you think they would have any issue with the statement that because we're obviously part of their citizen science group?
Yeah, I think that would be okay.
Okay.
They haven't officially funded the Solar Eclipse QSO party yet, but I'm crossing my fingers.
Well, I mean, we know we're part of their citizen science team, right? We're one of the 34 on there, so they're definitely supporting us, whether it's just overall.
That is absolutely true.
So, okay, Ron, I'll take care of you, no problem. All right, I'm not worried about the meaty hits. Okay, so the Xenia Hamvention, the main thing for me is to work on the website, and we've got these cards going, so that's two things. On the technical topics, I think these are pretty important. Nathaniel, is there anything you wanted to say in the paper you were talking about for the IQ data that you were thinking about raising at the flex form, or is that more in the future?
We can let people know about it. That's definitely something we need to get some input on. So I'm going to be talking at the Flex Radio forum, and one of the things I was thinking of is this might be a good opportunity to grab the attention of the Flex Radio people and try to encourage them to build, make their radio so it's easier for them to collect science quality data. I think, I'm looking at the people on this call. I think the people that we need more input from on that are more like the people who've already helped with the Tangerine SDR definitions regarding time stamping. And so I think talking to Phil Erickson and John Ackerman and Tom McDermott and Scotty and people like that. So I don't know that we want to spend too much time on that here right now.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. The other two topics, one of which I see Steve's here with your TDOA and your CHIRP project. I know the case team has done some work and moving things along a little forward, and that's maybe probably more appropriate for a Thursday morning call with the case team. But is there anything you need from us, Steve, at the moment, or?
No, we're probably going to shorten that waveform up a little bit. And I know that there was some concern about making sure that nobody's broadcasting. Everything has to be in a bona fide, at least 2 participant QSO, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Yeah, what I'd like to do is I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I started working on a web page just describing that experiment, and obviously it's come a long way since then, and I've learned a little bit more about it too. So if you don't mind, I'd like to work on updating that thing again, and then maybe we'll be able to put it out there once things solidify a little bit more.
Did you send me a link to that webpage?
I did, but that was a long time ago, and it's quite a bit out of date. So I won't. Let me update it a little bit, and then I think it'll be a better use of your time.
I'll be glad to look at it.
Okay. Okay. The other tech topic is Rob Robinette's here. We were talking about, you had some ideas about Whisper and calibrated data, Rob, if I recall.
Yes, hi. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm actually in the car, so I can't be a fully attentive participant. But I just wanted the group to be aware that the Whisper Demon, my group of Whisper Demon people,
demons,
they are have become quite enthusiastic about participating in this, and so there are plans for at least 6 stations to be deployed along the path of annularity in October. So people are, including myself, are planning to go out to locations that are right in the middle of the path and deploy both receive and transmit stations. And we're in the process, a number of us are putting together a transmit design, a whole station that could transmit on all of the amateur bands simultaneously to maximize the data that we could gather in the very short period of the totality. So we may have a design. We're certainly among the group are ready to fabricate, custom fabricate or the components. I don't know that anyone else will be interested. We do have one. We have people in Oregon, in Nevada, Utah, 2 in Utah, and 1 in San Jose, Costa Rica, who are planning to be there. And so we don't have anyone who's in the group yet who's planning to be in Texas, but you could expect a whole set of recordings and, of course, listening reports from the Whisper receive stations that are along the path and each of the path. So we hope that it's going to contribute scientifically valuable and perhaps participating, utilizing what we're working on and deploying it, we'd be happy to share what we're doing. I intend to put together a project page that describes this so that others can understand and if they want to participate. So this is even a subgroup of the kind of the Whisper part of the Solar Eclipse Party. But I thought I'd give the opportunity for others to participate. We don't have, we're current planning for hardware and software is targeted around the October event. We haven't really, in a sense, it'll be a way to stage and test our transmit and receive systems in anticipation of the April 24 totality. So if there's, I don't know that anyone here needs to contribute or do anything, although I certainly would like to be sure that anyone who's interested knows how to contact me, and I will inform the group in the next few weeks. Hopefully we can have a project page that we can share. It will be up publicly, probably in something on the whisperdemon.org site. Anyway, that's what I'm up to, and I wanted to be sure everybody heard. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, is there an interference issue if you're trying to use an SDR recorder to try the ionospheric situation by using the grape or an RS Duo type of receiver and trying to transmit on FT8 frequencies.
Yeah, everything we're planning to do is probably going to be the FST4W, the 120 transmissions, because we have a very well studied understanding of what we, how to deploy such a system and to get very high resolution Doppler shift data. The receive systems for Whisper Demon are right now only the Kiwi SDR, and I've been working with Phil and the author of the Kiwi to fully characterize the performance, the IQ, especially IQ mode performance, both the frequency stability, which is not really a problem, but other items in terms of the exact characteristics and validity of the IQ stream that is being put out by the Kiwis. On the transmit side, the QDX that I demonstrated is one candidate, although it has some good characteristics. It doesn't have temporal resolution. So we are also looking at part of that multi-band transmitter, simultaneous multi-band transmitter would be temporal resolution. So we knew exactly when each of the packets were transmitted. So those are currently the two kind of hardware basis for what we're doing. It's as I've worked through this, understanding the processing characteristics of a receiver requires a lot of study. I'm in I have a lab now full of multiple Bogners and receivers and transmitters that I'm using to characterize the transmit receive chain. So to get the kind of data out of the Whisper packets that we think we can obtain really requires a fair amount of work. I mean, of course, you can get very useful information from almost any Whisper or transmitter and receiver, but we're trying to achieve levels of resolution, frequency, and time resolution that really require a fully validated transmit receive stream. And so we're going to have kind of a reference design. There are, of course, many other devices like the Flex, which could be used, and we would try to incorporate them too as options. But for what we're trying to achieve, we think we need to pretty fully characterize all the componentry that goes into our little corner of this event.
So realistically, for the appliance operator, the collection of the ionospheric data would be within the means of just regular equipment. And if you wanted to participate and have usable data, then you would have to forget the ionosphere and just concentrate on some type of Whisper or some type of FT8.
If you want to, I think my understanding is that if you really want to measure the motion of the ionosphere and its change in frequency, it really requires frequency accuracy and stability on the order of a Bogner. So a casual user doesn't have that kind of a setup, and although you can feed a Bogner or other GPS DO into a SDR Play RP2 or a Flex or other devices, I don't think many people have them or understand how to use them, and probably wouldn't be a lot of effort for them to work on setting that up just for this one event or two events. So there'll be useful information. One of the efforts underway is to Ryan from New Jersey Institute of Technology is working on enhancing the Whisper D decoder so that it might generate the ionospheric motion data like we get out of the 4W. So there's a possibility that even the casual users transmissions could become scientifically useful. We won't know that until Ryan makes his enhancements and we have a chance to study what existing Whisper transmitter signals look like. We don't know their spectral characteristics, but potentially they could be as useful as the 4W 120 transmissions are, as Gwen G3ZIL outlined in his presentation at the HAMSI. We saw how he was able to identify the ionospheric paths from the characteristics of the received signals. So it's potential we can do that from Whisper 2 transmissions and even from ones that come from just arbitrary, all of the 4,000 transmitters that are out there. But we won't know that, I imagine, for months. And it may require a little more help than even Ryan can do, because once he has it fixed, we then have to have someone go through and process the Whisper 2 extended database that we would get and see how stable all of these transmissions are, which transmitters are stable in different parts of the world. So we have a one group working on that, but that's a kind of a side project. We don't really know how successful it will be. So the path that the Whisper Daemon team is working on is one that we know will work, and we have the resources and the plan and people at work on it. Other parts of the other ways for the larger community, the normal users of Whisper, we hope that this enhancement that Ryan's doing will help their transmissions and their receptions become more useful. But we don't know that yet.
Okay, so I guess the takeaway for today is you've got some exciting developments in the pipeline, and if you could obviously keep us up to date as things solidify, Rob, I think that would be a big help.
Rob, you were mentioning about using the GPS-DO with other receivers and how that would be a sort of a one-time application for participants. But are there any other applications that adding a GPS-DO to such receivers, might, encourage amateurs with some technical interest necessarily to actually, sort of kickstart them and say, well, I can participate, in the solar eclipse experiment, but hey, I was sort of thinking about getting this anyway.
Oh, looks like Rob dropped off. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I can answer that.
Okay.
So the answer is yes. The solar eclipse is just one thing. If you look at, we're always interested in how traveling ionospheric disturbances are moving through the ionosphere. We're always interested in the short-term variability. A really nice thing that people can look at every single day is what happens at dawn and dusk, and Steve Serwin on here does that all of the time. And so, yes, there are things you can look at every single day. And in fact, if you look at the both the NSF and the NASA grant proposals we've submitted for the eclipses, both of those proposals state not only are we going to look at what the eclipse is doing, but we'd also compare that to how it, compare those observations to what's happening at dawn and dusk.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of those. It's just that some participants, will be concentrating, on the eclipse, and really that'll be about it. But I was just wondering if there are other amateur radio applications where it's the sort of thing that people say, hey, that would be sort of neat to have, but I haven't got around to it. Because I know for the medium wave people, that definitely is going to be one of the pushes, you know, because there are a lot of people sort of thinking, yeah, this might not be a bad idea. This might be the time to do something about it.
Right. Things that are not science applications.
Exactly.
Okay. So I think there are certainly interesting things that can be done with experimenting with different communications modes. So like David Kasdan over at Case Western, he's been a big proponent of this idea of coherent CW, which is where your CW modulation is actually synchronized with GPS.
Yeah.
So that's one application. I think there's probably a lot of area where you can do experimentation along those same lines. You know, if people came up with different modulation schemes that really make use of the very accurate timing that GPS provides.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking is, you know, in terms of publicity and so forth. You know, if we know that there are other applications where the you know, getting a GPS DO would be, you know, like an interesting idea. I think it would be more for the technically inclined, but there's a lot of technically inclined people and with all sorts of interests and just sort of saying, well, you know, maybe now's the time to, you know, sort of dive in, you know, and you know, use it as part of the sale, you know, to get more people actually, you know, technically set up properly for the solar eclipses.
So one thing I've thought of that that this could be used for is you might be able to come up with a communications mode where if everyone has GPS DOs in their receivers, it might make it feasible to measure the time delay of arrival, time difference of arrival, or the time of flight of your signal from one station to another routinely. And then that may actually help people to understand what mode of propagation is actually happening for their routine QSOs.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now, everyone is like, oh yeah, they figure things are bouncing off of the F layer. They figure things are bouncing off of the E layer, but they don't really know.
No.
And maybe there's a way that we could incorporate this technology such that, you know, you buy your ham radio, you hook a GPS up to it, you hook up to your HF antenna, and then if the person on the other side has the same technology, maybe you're actually able to know on the fly what the time of flight actually is and give you a better insight into what propagation mode you're actually using.
Yeah. So anyway, just something to think about in terms of you know, encouraging people to sort of move into the technology, because it would certainly make their data more useful for the solar eclipses.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know, it would also be that, hey, they're actually getting some personal advantage out of it too. You know, just sort of saying, yeah, I sort of thought about doing this. Now's a good time to dive in.
Great.
Okay, we're running right up against the 5 o'clock hour. I'm sure I know a lot of people have to take off about at 5. So I don't know, Nathaniel, if you've got your normal obligation to take off at 5 today, or.
Yeah, so it's probably more like 5:15 or something like that, but I've got, you know, it's coming up.
Okay, if we could, then let's take a quick look at this stuff we got from NASA. Let me share my screen again. Maybe we can get this behind us. One task. Let's see here.
Yeah, this would be really nice to. I agree. This would be good to get wrapped up here.
So what we got, we're HAMSI is one of 34 citizen science projects that appears on the NASA website. There's a lot of good stuff here. Aurora Source, I think most of us are familiar with, and whatnot. So somewhere in here is the HAMSI. But what they want to do, there we are. And this just is a link to take people to hamsci.org. Like Nathaniel was saying, it kind of drops you there, but then what? So NASA sounds like they've had another idea where they've got these pages that people can kind of shop for different projects. They're relatively short descriptions. Of course, the project website there, what you'll get to do, requirements, get started, and so on and so forth. So it's people, like I say, they can shop the project they want. So they asked us to review the text here before this stuff goes live, and I've got that here somewhere. Let me close this thing out. So as their introductory text, see what's wrong with this little tab over here. What is this thing here? There we go. So this was their initial text, and I've got my edits. I tried to turn tracking out with the edits. Did you know that in addition to carrying news and music, radio waves can be used to study our atmosphere? What I think we've standardized in a lot of places, we call ourselves, we're amateur parentheses ham radio operators. And once we've got that in the beginning of the text, then we can use the ham radio thing throughout. So I was trying to standardize in that a bit. Ham radio operators purposely bounce signals off the Earth's ionosphere because we're talking, you know, there are other planets and there's a lot of things going on in the solar system. So I thought we should clarify that. The usual thing, instead of calling the ionosphere a layer, instead properly call it a region of charged particles high up in the air. In order to communicate with people beyond the horizon, the strength of the bounce provides many clues about the ionosphere, such as its height and density. Rather, because the original text says provides many clues about the ionosphere, and I think they just left it at that. So I thought I'd give a little bit more info there.
What if you do height density and dynamics?
Okay, there we go.
Dynamics is a hot word these days.
Sounds good to me. Their second paragraph, the ham radio science citizen investigation is a platform of amateur radio operators, and I wanted to put and others interested in the study of radio signals. And the reason I wanted to put that in there is as we've talked a few times, we're interested in people who joining us that are also have good, you know, data analysis skills and that sort of thing, and they may not necessarily be hams, but they've got an interest in radio or radio science. So that's why I threw this a little bit extra piece in there. Use their skills to advance scientific research and understanding. So then I said license. She originally had just licensed hams, you know, come join us or earn your license. And
it was like get your license.
Yeah. And I didn't think that we want to imply that you don't come play with us until you've got your license. That's not true. So. And then join one or more of our ongoing investigations, and I forget to see what was there originally. Yeah, get your ham radio operator, come join us. The text that she put together shows RBN and WhisperNet and PSK reporters kind of being ham side products, which really aren't true. We obviously depend on them quite heavily. But I thought I would, our ongoing investigations are really the personal space weather stations, the festivals, and also the frequency measurement festivals. That seemed more like what we got going on. Under license, I put optional, and only required if you wish to contribute transmitted radio signals. That may hopefully clarifies it for people. For equipment, let's see what you originally had. Equipment requires receiving and or transmitting radio. Yeah, yes and no. But again, to attract some of the analytics people, if they can at least get on the web, see what's going on the website, and join some of the Zoom calls, they may be able to help us.
Yes.
And so far as the knowledge we'd like people to possess, if they have knowledge of shortwave radio, that's great. Or, you know, sun-earth relationships. I kind of threw that in there because there may be some physics and heliophysics oriented people that could lend a hand.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah, Ron.
On the equipment, there's a lot of ham radio operators that are not necessarily connected to the internet. Some of us are, some of us aren't. Do we want to add, expand, or something else that?
Is there a way that we can say, and along with that, it'd be nice to say that, you know, if you do have radios, that's something you can contribute, because you don't want to come here and be like, oh, they're not asking for radios at all. So
yeah, because I think you have to be. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. It caught me off. I was thinking about it as you were moving on. Sorry, I know we're late, but I think my concern is equipment says this is what you need. Whereas if there was a way to add to equipment, like equipment optional or equipment not necessary, and I'm really rambling, but it almost makes it sound requirements equipment is that you have to have an internet connected device. Did you see my concerns, Gary and Nathaniel? Is that you don't have to have that, and there's probably a much better way to say it than I'm trying to do, but
because do you need an internet to be on the internet to transmit a useful signal?
No. I maybe this is my confusion. When I saw this, and I saw this on a lot of the other shopping pages, this is simply a way that you've got a laptop, you can get on the web and see what's going on. This is more of how to participate or how to learn more what's going on.
Then Gary, maybe we should make it equipment to participate or something. Yeah, I don't think it's major, but still, when I read this, it tells me that the equipment that is required is an internet connected device. And that's where I'm thinking that if we can either add to the word equipment or somehow convey that there's a couple of different things that you can contribute with, whether it's just having a radio, having a laptop.
That still sounds required.
Well, under license, we have optional. Maybe we can just put optional with equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
also questioning the knowledge line as well, especially the sun-earth relationships. Most people don't. That shouldn't be a requirement. It's a desire.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking about there, people should at least understand the diurnal rotation, day, night, and this and that and the other thing, just because that helps.
You hope that people
shouldn't be there.
Yeah, you hope that people coming to this project might learn about these things. You know, you think about your 14-year-old kid, or or someone who's heard about ham radio when they were really young, and finally now that they're retired have time to actually join in for the first time ever.
Well, and Nathaniel, I mean, look at the poster kid here. I didn't know anything about it a few years ago. And now I'm doing introductory presentations, and so
you could put knowledge as just technician class shortwave radio characteristics.
You aren't required to be a licensed amateur, though.
But can you say something like interest in learning about? So that it's not that you actually have to know about it, but you have to be interested in learning about these things.
Yeah. Or do you even need to have knowledge in there? Do we even need that line at all?
Well, let's take a look at some of the other projects. I think that's kind of their boilerplate. What they're doing is for all these projects. Okay. Let's see here.
I think the requirement should be in. Well, there you go. None.
I like the none required.
Yeah, but I think what's really required is an interest in learning these things.
Yes.
Because certainly, if you don't have an interest, you're not going to go very far here.
No.
Okay. Yeah, obviously we don't have an app, but what we're trying to get to the point is we'll bring you along. That's the idea. Check us out, and we'll bring you along.
I mean, this group, this whole thing is just such a wonderful opportunity for some of us to learn and be involved in science. And I can't think of a more supportive a group to education and learning than what I've been exposed to with everybody here. And I know I've said it before, but I feel very strongly about that. And so I would want to make sure that people would know that, I mean, guys, I came in and I didn't even know what the ionosphere was. And now I've had a chance, I've read about 4 or 5 books. I've watched most of the presentations. This is just a great opportunity. So I want to make sure that people feel like they can come in and be able to find that opportunity like I did. Sorry, I'm speaking way too much, so.
No, Ron, not at all.
Yeah, without doing the overall marketing piece, is that if, you know, it says that, you know, the license is optional, but we may have a reference that if you're interested in obtaining a license, maybe go to the ARL website. They are a partner with us here.
I like the online information, virtual meetings welcome all levels of experience. I think that's a nice sentence.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I'm just going to say internet connection, because really to participate, because if somebody doesn't have any access to the internet, they'd be hard pressed to participate. They're not going to be able to learn a whole lot and join in a whole lot. I mean, that's true of almost everything nowadays. I mean, take a look at some of the others again here. Equipment, smartphone, an app. Let's see. Interconnected mobile device or computer. I'm going to change it to that. Let's see how that looks. All right, we went quiet. Did I lose something?
No, I think you're good.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
So are we all good with the good with that then?
Yeah, if we're okay with those edits, I'll submit them.
That sounds great.
Okay. Excellent, we got that done.
So yeah, I think we're in a good spot then.
Okay. All right. Steve, I was thinking a little bit more about, you know, I should probably send you the link to what I wrote up last November, and you tell me if you want to write up some procedures or if you want me to work on it, or you're the one, you should probably make that decision rather than me doing it first and then asking if you like it. So.
And one of the threads was going a day or so ago, but I'll be glad to do that. I have put a few thoughts together about how to do this.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. I'll send you what I've got, and you tell me which way you want to proceed. That's probably the better way to go.
Sounds great.
Okay. So anything else before we wrap up? It's 10 after 5. It is getting late, so. All right. Thanks, everyone. I think we got a very productive meeting.
Yeah, today. I do want to. I'll make the same announcement I made this morning. There is coming up a big science conference called the NSF CEDAR conference. I'll get the website up on the page. So this is not an amateur conference. This is a professional conference. It is in San Diego this June 25th through 30th. And this CEDAR is not about trees. It stands for Coupling of Energetics and Dynamics of Atmospheric Regions. So if you are an ionospheric physicist, this is the place to be this June 25th through 30th. And let's see. So basically I'm putting this out there that if anyone wants to go, you can register and go. I don't necessarily have the same level of support I have for the Ham Sci workshop where I had a big grant to pay for everyone to go. But if I do want to make it known that this is out there, and if you're interested, you can go. And I will be there. Almost all of my students will be there.
And it's after field day, so it won't interfere with field day. So
that's right, it is after field day. One CEDAR, what I did was the field day was in between CEDAR and another conference called GEM. So I went to some field day out in Colorado, I think it was. That was right where the meetings were. So I joined in on some other club's field day. So that's it.
okay, anything else? We'll call it a wrap.
That sounds good.
All right, thanks everyone for all your participation. That's what makes it go a lot better. So
yeah, thank you
everyone,
so much.
Have a great week.
Thanks.
73.
73.